For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never, ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
The face of truth is open.
For me, there's a simple For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never, ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
The face of truth is open. The eyes of truth are bright. The lips of truth are ever closed. The head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward. The gaze of truth is straight. Truth has neither fear nor doubt. Truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching. The voice of truth is deep. The law of truth is simple. All you sow, you reap. The soul of truth is flaming. The heart of truth is warm. The mind of truth is clear and firm through rain and storm. Facts are only its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle of life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is the cross. Wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal. Immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure. Truth shall hold to the last.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never, ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
The face of truth is open. The eyes of truth are bright. The lips of truth are ever closed. The head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward. The gaze of truth is straight. Truth has neither fear nor doubt. Truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching. The voice of truth is deep. The law of truth is simple. All you sow, you reap. The soul of truth is flaming. The heart of truth is warm. The mind of truth is clear and firm through rain and storm. Facts are only its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle of life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is the cross. Wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal. Immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure. Truth shall hold to the last.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Welcome to another edition of the world's most monitored talk show, always worth the wait. My name is Timothy Poleon. Happy Friday to you. Of course, we'll continue to stimulate the discussion, facilitate it as well, and hope that something positive will come out of our efforts. During the course of the program, as usual, your calls at 452-2979, WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, 716-2026, and Amanda King will be going through some of your comments in the chat room, as we hope you're having yourself an enjoyable and a fantastic Friday. Community Centralized Safety Center. Remember this. Community Centralized Safety Center, formerly known as Custody Suites, but I suspect we will stick with what we are accustomed to and what is memorable, top of the mind. Custody Suites as opposed to Community Centralized Safety Center. Just trying to polish things. So the Custody Suites formally opened just moments ago, and that is during a ceremony well attended by government ministers, including the Minister with responsibility for national security, who is also finance minister, and the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Mr. Philip J. Pierre, as well as the Crime Prevention Minister, Mr. Jeremiah Norbert, and the MP for Castries Central and Housing Minister, Richard Frederick, and the hierarchy of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Custody suites demolished, and that was on the 3rd of March 2021 by the previous administration, and that is with the hope of clearing the area so that the construction of the halls of justice could have commenced. And we all know the controversy involving the St. Lucia National Trust and how they took legal action and how the whole thing settled and panned out. So a new administration came into office and they set about to reconstruct the custody suites and modernize the form. But something very interesting occurred during that ceremony today, because you had lots of speeches being delivered. The Prime Minister, not one to miss an opportunity to politicize things, took aim at the police. And you'll be hearing from him in just a moment, but let me paraphrase, let me set this up. He said to the police, if you deliberately, in effect, I'm paraphrasing, if you deliberately set about to sabotage the government or to abandon your duties, don't be as diligent as you ought to be, and there is an increase in criminal activity, don't believe that this primarily hurts any politician, including the government of St. Lucia. It is to the detriment of the people of this country or the entire society. I don't know that we have, in fact, the evidence to prove that there are police officers within the Royal St. Lucia Police Force who set about not functioning at their optimum with the hope of this resulting in an increase in crime on the island, and then hoping that it will also affect the chances of the St. Lucia Labour Party being returned to office whenever general elections are called. I know that the efforts of the police are being stymied and frustrated by a lack of resources. Bulletproof vests. This has been a sore point for the police for a while now. The lack of training for our police officers. And this would have been made more acute when the Americans decided to withdraw training services to police officers because of the Leahy law and the allegations of the use of extrajudicial force. We know that those are the stumbling blocks. The Prime Minister also went on to say to the police, there should not be any division among you, especially if it is because of politics. Don't set about to victimize police officers primarily because you suspect that they are supporting a political party that you do not support. So, division within the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. And back to what has affected the police in terms of ensuring that they function at an optimum level would be, and we've heard it time after time, political interference. Whether it is an SLP administration or a United Workers' Party government, there has been evidence of interference in the operations of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. So without further ado, let us hear from the Prime Minister and the National Security Minister as he addressed the opening of the Community Centralized Safety Center or Custody Suites.
I want to tell the police that when there is a reduction of crime in this country, that is not for the welfare, the benefit of any politician. So anybody believes that when they neglect their duty or when they try through direct or indirect means to cause things not to happen how it ought to happen because they believe that the government or the Prime Minister in particular will be affected at the polls, that is a misthought. Because crime should never be used as a political tool or political weapon. Every man or woman has the right and they reserve the right to have their own political conviction, which you manifest on one day. And that day was the 22nd of July, 2021. So if you do your arithmetic right, and you add 5 years to that, you will know that that day will be here before July 2026. So we have a right to do that in the privacy and the secrecy of the ballot box. But it's unfair, and not unfair, or not harmful only to the Prime Minister, it's harmful to the society, to the country, when we deliberately have a responsibility which every policeman has, a serious responsibility of being able to withdraw somebody's freedom for 72 hours. It's a serious responsibility. A serious responsibility to halt crime, to stop people from suffering. When you take that responsibility and you use it for political reasons, because you believe that when you do it, some politician would get out of office. I want to urge the members of the police force to understand the seriousness of their job, not to allow misinformation, not to victimize each other for political reasons, not to create an environment where there is division because of political reasons. Division in the force should only be division among the corrupt and the non-corrupt. It should only be division among those who want to work and those who do not want to work. It should only be division among those who take their work seriously and those who do not take their work seriously. It should not be division because of political reasons or because we assume or we presume that some of us support a particular political party. There should not be division because of that. The division should be on lines of principle, should be on lines of good behavior, should be on lines of achievement.
Innuendo after innuendo coming from the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, giving the impression that police officers are being victimized because of politics. Giving the impression also that some police officers are neglectful of their duties, again, because of politics. In other words, trying to accuse some police officers indirectly of sabotaging his government. Those are very dangerous actions by the National Security Minister, and also the Prime Minister of the country. Let's say dangerous utterances. And if the Royal St. Lucia Police Force is divided, the Prime Minister is creating more division within the ranks of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. That's why I'll always make, unfortunately for some people, the comparison between the Prime Minister of St. Lucia and his Barbadian counterpart. I cannot imagine mere mortally making such reckless and dangerous comments and statements, at least without providing the evidence. I mean, back up what you are saying. Don't obliquely cast aspersions. So you want people to read between the lines, telling the police, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. And you are indirectly accusing the police of doing exactly what you are telling them not to do, not to engage in. So you heard there from the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. By the way, he and Dr. Kenny Anthony, the outgoing MP for VA4 South, today marks the 28th anniversary of them providing quote end quote representation, quality representation to the people of Castries East and the people of VA4 South, respectively. So the people from those two constituencies, you make your own assessment whether the investment that you have made in those two gentlemen, whether they have paid off, whether they have sufficiently improved your standard of living, what kind of positive impact they have had on your lives. Because 28 years, that's a very long time to be on the job. 452-2979, 452-2979, WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, 716-2026. It is a good time to hear from you. And of course, during the course of our program, Amanda will be going through some of the comments in the chat room. She's currently collating those comments and will be presenting it to the wider audience. A WhatsApp message reads, and it's coming from a police officer. It says there, the Prime Minister was only there campaigning to win the police at the polls. He and his team have politicized this police force more than any other administration. A WhatsApp message. Let's see if we have another WhatsApp message. And somebody says there, to my understanding, the policemen put him there because of political biases, so they can kick him out. That's a WhatsApp message. Another comment. You are off. Mia Motley just questioned the DPP why 7 accused cases was dropped. Do your research. I'm sure she would have given sufficient reason for her attack, if that was what it was, on the DPP. I am certainly sure that she should have provided a basis for her observations. See if we have another WhatsApp message while we await your calls once again at 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. We have a WhatsApp call. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You on the air?
Yeah, good afternoon, Tim. How you doing,
I'm okay, caller. Good afternoon to you.
Okay, let me tell you. Pertaining to me, the doc. They tell me as the doc. Tim, I've been in Vieux-Fort. I live in Vieux-Fort. I work in Vieux-Fort. I know. I'm saying it straight, without no bias. Kenny has not done nothing. Not even though they said I'm halfway and all this. Tim, yeah, certain places in Vieux-Fort, like the man, yeah, they needed that. They have to do it. But at the same time, I'm telling you, Tim, I know Vieux-Fort well, you know. Check it. Vieux-Fort was a place that was bright and shining in the 70s, in the 80s, you know. You see the dock, when the banana boat was coming, that is what the dock fellas, the dock men was depending on to enjoy their life, Kenny Anthony take out that from them. He bring it to Castries, You understand? Team, what King the dock was doing, team, give handouts to the people. That person want the tank of gas. That person, their family die, He burying the family for them and this and that and the other. That's what Kenny was doing. But to say to really improve the life of the people in Vieux-Fort, Kenny did not do that, my brother. I'm telling you that straight. Kenny did not, even the other one that is there as the Prime Minister. Once again, Philippe J. has done nothing for the people of Marchand and Bocage and surrounding. Nothing. Them fellas just enjoying a ride on the people's head. Team, that is what they are doing. That is what Kenny did. Enjoying a ride on the people of Vieux-Fort head. Not nothing he did for that constituency, just like Philippe J. That is the two worst Prime Minister in St. Lucia. I'm telling you that straight. The two worst Prime Minister, Philippe J. even worse than him, because Philippe J. has not done nothing in Vieux-Fort and Marchand and the surroundings, So I'm just waiting to see the next election, what the people of St. Lucia and the people of Marchand will do to see if they will still vote for them fellas, because them fellas has not done nothing to uplift the people. Because, Tim, look at that. The people still using the barrel in a bucket to go and throw it in the sea. No toilet, no public, nothing like that for the people in this constituency. So what is that? And you telling me guys and you're uplifting the people life and everything? That's you're a failure. I'm giving you a 0 for that. Both you and Kenny Anthony, a 0 for that. I'm giving you a 0 for that. Philip JP and Kenny Anthony. Because you'll have not done nothing for the people, in your constituency to uplift the people's life. You check it. Tim, that is what I have to say this afternoon. Thank you to give me that.
All right,
time.
sir. Thank you so much for sharing your point of view with us. 452-2979, WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. 716-2026. Let's take another call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
How you doing?
Hi, good afternoon to you, caller.
Yes, Tim. I just wanted to say, I listened to everybody about Kenny Anthony and everything and his legacy. But one thing I want to say about Kenny Anthony that I give him credit for his latter part of his political career. He tried his best to keep Richard Frederick out of St. Lucia politics, Timothy. And you can see throughout the years all the situation that happened. And I believe the speech he wrote wasn't in a direction of the St. Lucia, the United Workers' Party or the public at large, but for his very men and women, especially Philip J. Pierre, he spent most of his life with, and to turn around and bring Richard Frederick in not just in the party, but within the cabinet of ministers. And I believe that is why he didn't take up a role in Parliament, because he stated that he would never ever sit down with alleged drug dealer and money launderer in a cabinet. And with all the things that happened with impact report,
well,
and all
caller,
those different things.
let's be careful. Let's not make any link between what you just said there and any individual. Okay?
No, I'm not. But Tim, what I'm trying to tell you,
I'm just saying. No. I'm just saying, caller. Let's not create any kind of link, any association between the allegation that you're making and any individual. Let's be extremely careful, sir.
No. What I'm telling you with the impact report, they didn't
Caller,
say allegedly, but
okay. Thank you so much for calling. 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Somebody says there, it's wrong to say Dr. Kenny Anthony did nothing in VA4. He did bring VA4 from a 10 to -20. Sad. Let's see if we have some more WhatsApp messages. Hi, Tim. I think the Prime Minister needs to read what speech he has written, because whenever he speaks from his head, he talks garbage. Let's see if you have another call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Hi. Good afternoon, Tim.
Hi, good afternoon to you, caller.
Good afternoon to Amanda.
Good afternoon, caller.
And good afternoon to the other listeners. Tim, I tried to call you yesterday, but apparently
the other, I would say the politicians will put ahead of the queue and most of us. Anyway, so Tim, I'm going to give you a different spin to my take on Kenny Anthony because let me just go ahead and see what I have to say. So, Tim, you remember when Kenny Anthony's wife was arrested in Barbados some years ago?
Yes, I can recall. She was protesting along with some students.
Right.
Yeah.
I was one of the officers that arrested her.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And back then, I thought so highly of Kenny Anthony because I thought what she was fighting for was, despite the fact I had to do my job, but I thought what she was fighting for was to, showing that, she was gonna stand up for what she believed in, and by extension, a husband, right? So as a St. Lucian growing up in Barbados then, I was so excited because John Compton was kind of on his way out, getting old and stuff like that. So I thought, wow, this guy can go back to St. Lucia and he can really make a difference, okay? Now, when Kenny Anthony came back to St. Lucia and he got involved in the politics, there came my disappointment, okay? In that, I just thought Kenny Anthony, and I'm sure most people can agree, was too thin-skinned to be a politician. Tim, you remember how many lawsuits Kenny Anthony filed?
Yes, I can recall several.
Several lawsuits, and you know who had to pay for all of those lawsuits?
In most instances, the taxpayers, yeah.
The taxpayers of St. Lucia. You know that the happiest person one of the happiest persons when Kenny Anthony was in power was, the guy, remember who?
Estefan.
Mm-hmm. Right. That guy from Dominica. He was the happiest person when Kenny Anthony was in power. Because of all the lawsuits that were filed and all the money he was making and stuff like that. So as the previous caller was stated and stuff like that, you go back into that constituency, Tim, because I'm a St. Lucian. I reside in the US, but I come back on a regular basis for the different activities and just in general to support what's going on my beautiful island. Like most other St. Lucians here, we're bragging, we're telling people about how great St. Lucia is and stuff. So when we come back, we want to see what we're encouraging people to go back and enjoy. Not just the sand and, and sea and stuff like that, but we want to see the development that's happening, right? But Tim, when I take a walk, when I go into that constituency, as I do, I go into, what's his name? Stephenson King's constituency, because that's where I grew up as a kid. I also go into the Marshall area, because that's where I spent time at my grandmother's house when I was a kid growing up. And when I look at those constituencies, Tim, as the three current prime minister and former prime minister of St. Lucia, I see no development, Tim, no real progress. So yes, Kenny Anthony is a brilliant guy, a very intelligent man, but him, like I would say Vaughan Lewis, those guys to me are not politicians. They should have stayed in their field and used their knowledge and stuff to impact St. Lucia in that's my opinion, Tim, in that capacity. So when you go into those constituencies and stuff, you're not seeing the progress that it's. If you're the prime minister, your constituency is supposed to be tip top. That's the way I see it. People are supposed to complain that you are doing too much for your constituency as compared to other constituencies. That's my take on it. I don't know if other people, most likely some people will disagree, but I just think as a prime minister, your constituency is supposed to be like, the talk of the town. And so in as much as Kenny Anthony was a brilliant guy, obviously any St. Lucian should be proud of in terms of his, intelligence and whatnot and stuff. I just think as a politician, he failed in that regard. And, just disappointed and stuff like that. And here's my biggest disappointment, Tim. If Kenny Anthony is that concerned about what's going on in the SLP, and by extension St. Lucia, he could simply leave the party and join Parliament as an independent. He can join Parliament as an independent, so that would put him in a perfect position to be able to be critical of some of the things that he sees that is going on in his party and St. Lucia. So when he wants to get there and he wants to talk about my beloved SLP, I get the feeling, Tim, like these guys love their party more than they love the country. Because if you were seeing things wrong, you decided not to take up a cabinet position because you think there are certain things that are wrong, whatever the reasons are.
But that's not but Caller, that's not the impression that he gave. Remember the explanation that he gave on Wednesday evening. Is that he believed that would be a strain on the public purse, and also you already have a former Prime Minister in Stevenson King. You have the Prime Minister himself. Why have another Prime Minister within the cabinet? And more than that, he did not want the current Prime Minister to be walking on eggshells, as he put it.
But Tim, he referenced the British Parliament and all of that and stuff. In Barbados, Tim, when you had the DLP, you had the BLP. As a matter of fact, you had what's his name, Owen Arthur, in serving in the cabinet and all of that and stuff. So yes, Tim, he wants us to believe that is the reason. But any person with common sense can see that, can tell that is not the real reason.
I agree.
That. I mean, I'm just saying, Tim, that's the reason he gave. But any person with common sense knows that is not the real reason why Kenny Anthony did not take a cabinet position. And I respect him for that. I respect the reason why he did not take a cabinet position because, and like I said, we all know why. We know what's happening in St. Lucia. We're not stupid. You understand what I'm saying, Tim?
Yes, sir.
So I'm just saying that if you care that much about St. Lucia, resign from the St. Lucia Labour Party. You have nothing to lose. As a matter of fact, this is the real time for people to really speak about you in terms of your contribution, your legacy and stuff. Like your legacy can be that you left the St. Lucia Labour Party, you decide to become an independent, and you then in Parliament are taking up the position where you can be critical of some of the things that you see that are happening. You will get more respect from most St. Lucians and even SRP people that are concerned about what's happening in their party. They will respect him for that even more. I believe that. And to me, that is what a real patriot, when they want to talk about being patriots and stuff, that is what a patriot would do. Resign from the SLP, take your position as an independent in Parliament, and be critical of some of the things that you see that are happening, and help the country to grow. So I just wanted to make that my contribution today as someone that came into contact with Kenny Anthony, by extension his wife, some years ago and stuff, and what I thought about him as a St. Lucian living overseas could have come back and really taken the country to another level.
Okay,
so
sir.
Thank you so much, Tim.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for calling. I'm going to turn my attention to Amanda. Let's find out, Amanda, what is happening in the chat room.
Good afternoon, Tim. Good afternoon, NewsSpinners. A few comments from the chat room. And NewsSpinner says PJP is always throwing out cunning perceptions. Another comment reads, so sad and stupid the change of name. They better change their mindset and have some respect for themselves as they claim to. And NewsSpinner says you all had the perfect spot for the Halls of Justice, but no. You all go and put it in the middle of an already congested boulevard. St. Lucia is not a real place. Another comment reads, PJP, there is always division within the police force. He benefited from that, saying that he will do better. Someone says here, if it's not for the benefit of politicians, then why are politicians like you taking the praise if there's a reduction in crime? Another commentator reads, is he accusing the police of ignoring crime as a political strategy? A NewsSpinner says here, I'm trying my best not to say what I think of this so-called prime minister, so petty and making everything political. Another commentator reads, Pierre has serious issues talking about July 22nd, 2021. Talk about all the young men and people, the parents who died of gunshots and shootings instead. Someone says a real leader would say he does not accept any division amongst the force. Another commentator reads, PJP, stop your nonsense, so much crime and you not saying anything. And now you want to come and preach to the police? Another comment reads, isn't this the same man who supported the very police to stand up against the United Workers' Party in the last election, when they were celebrating when a police officer came out on national news and media stating that the police voted unanimously against the UWP? St. Lucia, do not forget these things. Tell Philip Pierre to look in the mirror when he is speaking. Another comment reads, 28 years and Castries East has nothing to show for except poverty and increase in crime.
We have a call via WhatsApp. Thank you so much, Amanda, for that update. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Tim.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to you, caller.
Tim, I was just thinking when I heard you speak about Kenny Anthony and the results, him bound of active politics, and it just came to my mind. We've had a few prime ministers in this country, and when I look at the few prime ministers, to me, the Labour Party prime ministers have done nothing much in their constituency. And I would like to really say that Chastney has done a lot in his constituency while he was working on Ireland. And you look at Beaufort has been the way it has been for eons. Then you look at Masha, and you have two prime ministers, not too distant prime ministers, not too far ago they were prime ministers. Philip J. is prime minister now, Kenny Anthony was prime minister not too long ago. And these constituencies seem to have been neglected by those guys. Were they working for the entire country and forgot they had a constituency? And if they were working for the country, then what have they really achieved in those times that they were working for the country? I mean, if you look at Beaufort and you say, I go to Beaufort on a regular enough basis. You have an international airport in Beaufort. You have St. Jude's, which was operating for so long, which has been down for a while. The rest of the area, if you go to Beaufort now, Beaufort is like a ghost town. Labour parties in office, Beaufort should be swinging. Persons should want a booth in Beaufort, a place for them to put up a shop. But that does not exist, Tim. Everybody's running away from Beaufort. People who have businesses in Beaufort are closing down and going elsewhere. Why is it? And you have a former prime minister who represents that constituency. For real, that's how we operate. Then you look at Masha. The only thing Philip JP has done for Masha, and he has maybe done a good job at it with the free tickets that they give for jazz, is bring the opening of jazz back to Masha. The Mundo Philip Park remained closed for so many years, and he was the representative for Masha. Only because he has brought jazz back to Masha, something has been done on that field. Tim, is that good? Well, I don't live in Masha, so I can't judge his representation, what the representation that he gives in Masha. But I'm saying, as an outsider, is that the representation that people from Masha would like? That's who they want to represent them. And I'm saying with Kenny Anthony bowing out of active politics, I suspect, and the whole Labour Party being in office, that's all people can do is speculate and suspect. I suspect that the Labour Party is leaning towards approving Richard Frederick's application, and Kenny Anthony cannot deal with it, so he's bowing out of politics because he does not want to be in the midst of certain persons. And that's my speculation, and that's what we all have to do, is speculate, because nobody gives a reason why certain things are happening, so everybody is just speculating. So I'm speculating that he has realized that the Labour Party, knowing full well that the elections coming, there is a tough one for them to win, they're going to adhere to Richard Frederick's application, and they're going to let him in. And so they now, Kenny Anthony now knows that he does not want to be amidst Richard Frederick, so he's saying goodbye to these guys and hoping and praying that good sense will prevail, and they will not do that. Tim, I thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling. Somebody in the chat room says, caller, I can give you a high five for that. This is the most monitored talk show in the world. Still to come, you'll be hearing from a police officer, a senior police officer, and the island's Vern God, the island's police commissioner, is doing some freestyling in just a moment.
You know that feeling when you have an uncontrollable desire for fried chicken? That's the KFC. A substance that stimulates your senses to identify the aroma of our secret recipe or an extra crispy crunch from any distance. It's invisible to the naked eye, but you can feel it traveling throughout your body, taking control. All so you can enjoy a juicy bite of KFC. Ignite your senses with KFC.
Lazarus's Funeral Home is here for you. Lazarus's Private Cemetery offers a peaceful resting place for your loved ones. With tranquil settings, visitation, and reflection, we believe in the compassionate care of all our departed loved ones. Lazarus's Private Cemetery, let us help you create a final resting place. Make it special. Make it Lazarus's Funeral Home, your friend in a time of need. Payment plans are available for tombs. Call us in Vidbuta at 452-7491 or in New Dock Road, VA4, 454-6555.
Lucelec customers are advised that from Monday the 19th of May until the 26th of May, an island-wide meter replacement campaign will be undertaken. This is at no additional cost to customers. This is part of Lucelec's ongoing commitment to providing safe, reliable, and efficient service. The new meters will ensure continued accuracy in customer usage readings readings and ensure that services continue to meet the highest standards. Customers with meters scheduled for replacement will receive a Lucelect notice at least 48 hours before. On the day of the replacement, a uniformed Lucelect technician with proper identification will undertake the work, which is generally estimated to take less than 30 minutes. To ensure a smooth process, customers are encouraged to ensure that there is a clear and unobstructed path to their meter. All questions or queries concerning this meter change should be addressed to the Lucelect customer service team at 457-4440 or the metering section at 457-4607. Lucelect thanks their valued customers for their cooperation, understanding, and support throughout the process.
Looking for amazing deals on tiles? Mark your calendars. Every last Thursday of the month, the Tile Gallery is offering up to 50% off on selected tiles. Whether you are renovating your kitchen, updating your bathroom, or giving your entire home a fresh new look, now is the time to transform your space and save big. Enjoy up to 50% off on selected tiles. Don't miss this incredible opportunity to upgrade your home without breaking the bank. Visit M&C Home Depot and Sunbelt locations for more details. Terms and conditions.
You asked for it and you got it. A quicker way to pay your bills online. It's fast, secure, and easy to use. No registration, no additional fees. Flow is now offering FastPay, an online service that allows you to settle your bills in less than 2 minutes. Need a receipt? FastPay will send it to your email immediately. Use FastPay now for convenience, safety, and efficiency at discoverflow.co/fastpay. Flow is keeping you connected.
Why suffer in silence? At La Clinique de Corps, an approved universal healthcare clinic, you now have direct access to a team of internationally trained specialists from the US, France, Cuba, Venezuela, and more right here in St. Lucia. We treat chronic pain, sciatica, arthritis, lupus, nerve damage, carpal tunnel, and more with precision and care. We also offer advanced diagnostic nerve testing to detect hidden tissues early before they become serious. All health insurances accepted. We assist you every step of the way. Call 451-6559 or WhatsApp 721-9950 today. La Clinique de Corps, where healing begins.
Essie, don't tell me that tire flat again. I just changed that tire.
Wait, what? You just changed that tire?
Well, I bought a used one because you didn't give me enough money.
Oh, I see. Well, you know what? Chivi's Tire Shop only carry brand new quality tires at affordable prices with free installation.
Hey, it seems you're working at Chivi's Tire Shop. How you know all that?
Come on, Brenda. The tire shop down the road from our home in the American Drywall Building.
Oh, yes. I forgot. Well, you know what, Patrick? Let's go there right now. Take your wallet. Let's go.
Chivi's Tire Shop, located at the American Drywall Building, Vic Butay. Call or WhatsApp 584-5986. Chivi's Tire Shop. Pay less, drive more.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Hey, St. Lucians, this is the moment that you have been waiting for. St. Lucia! St. Lucian Massive, come out and celebrate with us. Learn about your libido, your energy, learn about your gut microbiome, and why it is your center of health. Are you tired of taking pills for everything? Boy, I'm tired of them something that don't work. Come out and have fun with some of the top health experts and elite performer, Mr. McCasey and Nika, the chemist himself, Dr. St. Rose, and other entrepreneurs. Taste all of the products. Free admission, free prizes, and light refreshments will be available. Mark your calendars, June 3rd, 2025. Registration starts at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. The main event is at 6:30 p.m. at the Financial Center, Point Seraphine. Listen, miss it and blame yourself.
This is the most monitored talk show in the world, NewsSpin. Let's continue with your calls and WhatsApp messages. A WhatsApp message reads, why you are complaining about Kenny and PJP's constituencies? The people were enjoying the lack of representation because they kept voting for them over and over again. So let them reap what they have sowed. And let's see if we have another WhatsApp message. Somebody says there, Tim, do not be surprised if Kenny Anthony's move to not run for office anymore and the strategy he used firmly keeping his colleagues on the other side at bay during his announcement has a direct impact on the housing minister's future in the Labour Party. Tim, I think now the minister's application to join the SLP will be collecting even more dust, as Dr. Anthony says he's keeping his right to speak. And now that he has taken a step back, the SLP is probably considering him to be a ticking time bomb, which can explode at any given moment. That, I think, will keep the minister on the outside looking in for a while. What say you? Could be a ploy, could be a tactic that is being used by Dr. Kenny Anthony. That's all I will say for now on this particular matter. All right, we have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon, NewsSpin. You are on the air.
Good afternoon, Timothy.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Amanda.
Good afternoon, caller.
Big up, Senior Rigo, but you already know, sir. Anytime you cannot stand, I will stand for you. Anyways, Tim. Tim, did I hear Kenny Anthony mention the words archaic in his recent speech?
Well, you heard the speech.
On Wednesday?
Yeah, you heard the speech.
So, I want to know what is more archaic, Tim, than standing in the way of modernity, Tim? I want to know what is more archaic than a man standing in the way of modernity, Tim?
How we did that?
Okay, a man who refuses to transform Vieux-Fort South from what it is into Tim, modernity, Tim. He's standing in the way of modernity, Tim. Building a home in Port in Vieux-Fort and all the plans Alan Chastney had. He stood in the way of that. And then now he's telling us about archaic. Tell me, say to Will and come again, guys. Well, I remember when I was a kid and I attended the Vieux-Fort Comprehensive Secondary School, Campus A. Tim, bananas used to line up from the roundabout all the way to the docks, you know, Tim.
Yeah.
Tim, sometimes when we were leaving school, when Mr. Joe used to come and pick us up, Tim, traffic jam, you know, Tim, we cannot get by, you know. It took us a while, you know, Tim, to get from Campus A to the roundabout, you know, Tim, because of banana trucks. I remember them time the Toyota Stouts used to run things in St. Lucia. Toyota Stout upon Toyota Stout, you know, Tim. Loaded with bananas, you know. What happened to that? Huh? What happened to that? All of that just died out because of this man and his ridiculous ideas. I mean, albeit I don't hate Doc personally. I don't care about him personally. But for him to stifle progress in the entire southern tip of the island and for him now to come say, oh, we don't do it, guys. You should have been out of our politics some 20-something years ago. Anyways, Tim, I'm here again to appeal to the people, the young people of Vieux-Fort North, Vieux-Fort South, and Labrie. I don't care if you all vote independent. I would rather if you all vote for Flambeau because of the ideas that are being thrown around by the UWP. I see them as solid ideas, as I always say. These are 1,000-year plans. When Alan Chastney Guy Joseph, Dominic Fede, and the lot are all gone. Those plans will still be there helping St. Lucia and St. Lucians. I'm talking about health insurance, which is right here in the country I live in, Canada. Everybody who has legal documentation is entitled to health care insurance, albeit you have to pay into it. It's a payer system. It's not free. Let's get that clear. When you work, a little stipend is taken from your salary and you have to pay into it. A home in Port again in Vieux-Fort South is going to bring employment so that our young men don't have to go to sea and fish for drugs as opposed to fishing for fish. Some of them going to stay on land and not lose their lives carelessly. Okay, Tim, I'm calling to appeal. I'm appealing to the young people of Vieux-Fort South, Vieux-Fort North, and Laborie. We need a change. Vieux-Fort South, if you're not going to vote for Lady Lee, vote APA. If you're not going to give Lady Lee the nod, please, I beg you, vote APA. Anyways, Tim, that's my contribution for the day.
All right, sir.
Everybody have a good weekend.
Thank you so much, and same to you, calling all the way from Canada. So people are accusing Dr. Kenny Anthony of doing, quote-unquote, nothing for the people of Vieux-Fort South. Dr. Anthony has been addressing this.
Some say I have done nothing for Vieux-Fort South. But I notice that these days, they have adjusted their messages. They now say that I did do something, but could have done more. As I said to you earlier, I will not respond to them tonight because I don't want to spoil this occasion. Suffice it to say that if I have done nothing for Vieux-Fort South, how come I have defeated the United Workers' Party on 6 separate occasions? How come? What is the mystery? Why? What it is about my politics that earned the loyalty of the majority of Vieux-Fortians over these years? There is no mystery. My politics has always been about making a difference in the quality of life of those whom I represent. You see, they will not learn that representation is not just about monuments, buildings, or even roads. It's about people, caring for them, being compassionate, merciful, respectful, and committed.
Care, passionate, respectful, and committed. People not into monuments. Ought not to be all about monuments, buildings, infrastructure, and so on. That's according to Dr. Kenny D. Anthony. Let's take a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Hi, good day to you, Timothy. How are you?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon to you.
Timothy, Sir John, who did so much more for St. Lucia, the SLP lambasted him, he did nothing. So tell Kenny what he's getting now, which is the actual truth. The fact that he did nothing for the people of Vieux-Fort South, he just had to accept it. It is what it is. It's the truth. They did Sir John worse when he was the one who brought about independence and developed St. Lucia. Right? So tell Kenny take what he gets.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for your contribution. Somebody is watching NewsSpin via YouTube and they say, Beau Séjour is in the house. So hello to you, Beau Séjour. WhatsApp message, Dr. Kenny Anthony had a good run. He came, he saw, and he certainly conquered. Admire his resilience in remaining calm as a backbencher. He was clearly sidelined for RF. The question remains, though, when will RF, if ever, become a member of the St. Lucia Labour Party? WhatsApp message. Let's see if we have another WhatsApp message to go through. Somebody says, because why you lot complaining about Kenny and PJP's constituencies? They're right, because the people were enjoying the lack of representation because they kept voting for them over and over again. So let them reap what they sowed. I think I read that already. Person continues, because the VA4 people have Calbas in their head. That is why they kept being loyal to them. A call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air. Hello.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon, team.
Hi, good afternoon to you, caller.
Yes, and good afternoon. Yes, and hope that all of you guys are doing okay health-wise.
We are okay.
Tim, I know that the topic is about...
we don't have a topic.
politics,
We don't have a topic.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to talk about people's, especially the youth, the attitude of people in St. Lucia. And I am saying one thing, Tim. If ever St. Lucia had roads like Martinique had, in the next 2 years, we would not remain any young people in St. Lucia. Because the way that people drive in St. Lucia, no discipline. It's all about them. And when you go to Martinique and you see the kind of roads they have, and people drive normal, people drive, in a disciplined manner. And in St. Lucia, although Martinique is bigger, although Martinique has wider highways and more cars than in St. Lucia, there are more accidents in St. Lucia than they have in Martinique.
But let me tell you, caller, I've been to Martinique a couple of times. To me, they're driving at breakneck speed. I think maybe they are better drivers. And maybe they have better roads as well in Martinique. I mean, imagine.
Roads. Yes.
I'm not the fastest walker, obviously, but I was trying to cross the road over in Martinique one day. That was stressful. Anyway, continue.
Yes, Tim, I agree with you, but I don't know how long ago was that. But let me give you a little scenario. I mean, a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, there was a big strike for the cost of living in Martinique.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a big strike, and during that strike, there were a lot of burning downs of buildings, they were burning vehicles in the middle of the road, tires in the middle of the roads, and they were burning that and everything. You know what they did? They burned down all the speed radars, every one of them.
Wow.
Got burned down during that period. And up to now, they are not back into operation as yet. But when people drive, when people drive on the road, you know what? They respect each other. That's number one. They respect those who have priority. Yes, they are disciplined in their driving. They may be driving fast, yes, but there's discipline in the way they drive. Over in St. Lucia, we have no discipline at all. It's all about us. Even though we have a stop sign and we know the other person has priority, but people just want to push themselves in as if you have to see them coming and you have to stop. And no wonder we have so many accidents in St. Lucia. And I can tell you that because, I am here right now and I drive every day on the road.
Right.
Okay, I drive every day on the road and I go up and down, I do my business, I come back and, people are disciplined. The attitude is so different. And I guess that if we were supposed to adopt that attitude of self-discipline in St. Lucia, we would have less accidents, even though our roads are bad and, we don't have as many roads as Martinique. But, we would have less accidents if people were more disciplined in the way they drive. I thank you.
Okay, caller. Thank you so much. But it's something that the authorities clearly have to look into, more police officers on our streets. There is certainly a need to improve the condition of our roads. And yet, yes, we need to be more disciplined drivers and pedestrians also. I think We have a clip of Father Albert just recently on his program, and that was, I think, on Thursday of last week. And he made reference to the aggression on our roads and also the headlights, beaming headlights, and that could serve as a major distraction or impediment as well for persons, motorists. But we'll try to get that clip and we will play it in just a moment as we continue to take your calls at 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Again, 716-2026. I think we have that clip by Father Albert Aaron.
Sometimes the aggression, I find is getting out of hand.
Yes, road rage.
Before when you experience aggression on the road, you would say it's a man that do you that.
Yes.
Now the women are worse. The women are worse now, and I say that from my own experience. The women are worse. And I'm saying, that kind of behavior, how are we raising our children? And I'm saying all of that. I do not have the background of the law. I am simply asking, like Father Setut, are these lights permissible? The voltage or the wattage of the battery or whatever, or of the light, of the bulbs, are these things permissible? Because these things leads to accidents. These things leads to accidents. And if these things are not lawful, I want to call on the Royal St. Lucia Police Force to enforce the law.
Yes.
To enforce the law, because this thing is dangerous. And a vehicle is coming, in the opposite direction, and you just have to stop where you are because you just cannot see anything ahead of you.
Anything.
And, we lack courtesy. You put it nicely, we lack courtesy because how do we balance this kind of behavior with our Christian life?
Exactly.
Do unto others as you'd like others to do unto you.
Right, the golden rule.
Sao Pavle Pukou, Pavle by a lot more. Do you understand? So I'm saying, a number of people who have all those lights and all those heavy wattage of bulbs and those kind of things, come on. All we need to do, and let me tell you, for most of the roadway, you do not even need all that light because the streets are properly
lit.
The streets are properly lit.
Yes.
So you don't need all that light.
On the program, What's Your Point? Aired on a Thursday evening right here on Power 97.9 FM. You just heard there from the host of What's Your Point, Father Albert, and his guest on last Thursday's program was Father Setut. Let's find out from Amanda what's happening in the chat room.
A few comments from Elia Tim and NewsSpin says, Caller, yes, you are right. No progress. St. Lucians are happy with this government because they are not being exposed to anything better. Another comment reads, do you know if you create jobs for the people, they will not depend on the government handouts? And NewsSpinner says here, whenever I hear SLP boasting about their accomplishments, I have to wonder if that's the same St. Lucia I know of. Because what I see on the ground and what they are talking about does not add up. Another comment reads, I silently watched Kenny Anthony's meeting, paying close attention to the comments, and my mind was blown. People were commenting that he did so much for VA4 because he gave out groceries to his constituents weekly, cash to help with transportation for school children, and that deserves being called doing so much. Now he came on the stage that night to seemingly lament that politics now is transactional when he started the type of politics from 1997. You all just call a spade You all just call a spade a damn spade. Highly educated, a decorated man, complete failure as a leader. Someone says here the SLP has 3 former prime ministers plus PJP in the party, yet their performance does not reflect that. Another comment here reads, to me all this KDA bashing is totally useless. All those people who are calling in and making statements on various social media platforms had the opportunity to bash KDA while he was relevant as an elected representative. This would have been more effective, but those people wait until he resigned, which is too late. I'm glad that Lady Lee has taken the right road of civility, which makes her a more credible candidate and place her in the position to win this seat in the next elections. She has made her statements towards this issue of KDA resignation a non-polarized one, and this alone has placed her in a position to win over KDA supporters who will support and vote for her candidacy. A NewsSpinner says, Kenny and Tony, you are still failing VA4 South and St. Lucia by not speaking out and speaking the truth about what is going on in this government. Another commenter reads, he does not have a point as it relates to representation. I hope our current and upcoming leaders do not disregard those utterances. There is some wisdom in what he said. Back to you, Tim.
Thank you so much, Amanda. WhatsApp message. Somebody says, when I analyze the current climate, I think St. Lucians have to do more than just watch where their bread is coming from and what politicians are doing for them, but also understand how the two sick hospitals can make them see more misery, suffering, and pain and spend more money. The climate analyzer calls upon Lucians to think about the struggles, safety, and health of their children and grandchildren for the next 5 to 10 years. And let us see if we have some more of your messages to go through. Somebody says that I would like to invite your listeners to come out to watch Heartfall this weekend at Caribbean Cinemas, not just to witness a beautifully told story, but to stand for something deeper. This film was born from scarcity, not privilege. It was made without grants, without a crew of dozens, without the applause of institutions. In a nation where creativity is often stifled by silence, Heartfall speaks volumes. And yet, when the work is done and the world takes notice, the very systems that offered no support rush to claim it as their own. This isn't just a screening, it's a quiet revolution. Be part of it. Let your presence say what so many artists have waited to hear. We see you. We believe in you. We were with you from the beginning. And let's see if we have some more WhatsApp messages. Okay, I'll go through them in just a moment. But in the meantime, let's go over to Rick Wayne. Good afternoon to you, sir. You are on the air.
Tim, I promised you that Kenny Anthony's speech will be a subject for serious discussion for several weeks.
Especially in the run-up to the next general election, sir.
Well, the run-up is now, Tim.
Especially,
the run-up begins now.
Yeah, I agree, but particularly, somehow things reach fever point when the date is set.
Well, I hope not, Tim, because one of the problems we have is that we talk about things from the top of our head and in line with our particular prejudices and so on. So that I may have certain views about Kenny Anthony that are strictly mine and maybe genuine or not genuine, but I say it anyway. And there are others in similar positions. But I find it best to take what exactly a man says and deal with that, put it near the other measures to decide on the veracity or whether they represent exactly what the situation is. And so that will take time, and it's not a sudden thing to do just before the elections. For example, those little clips, they're all over the place and very interesting to listen to them. I heard you playing one. Kenny Anthony said there, against his critics who claim he did nothing for Viewport or he didn't do enough for Viewport. And he seems quite hurt about that, or at least quite perturbed about that. Number one, it was on your show, I think it probably was among the first episodes, that Kenny Anthony pulled a brilliant move of having videotaped areas of Viewport and talked with people in various sections of the town while being videotaped, and he played them on your show. Remember that?
That was in May of 1997.
97.
Just before. That would
Days
have been.
before the election.
That would have been, no, let me give you the exact date. It would have been the 21st of May, 1997. Because.
And the election was when?
The 23rd.
The election was when?
The 23rd of May.
So a couple of days before election.
Yeah. So we had Dr. Kenny Anthony on the 21st of May 1997, followed by the then Prime Minister Dr. Vaughan Lewis on the 22nd of May 1997, and on the 23rd was general election in St. Lucia.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, too, like I said, personal views are one thing. Your words are something else, right? You hear him talking about this, it's so unfair to say he didn't do enough or that he did nothing at all. But isn't that precisely what got him into office with regard to Peter Josie?
Yes. And you remember also during that show that Peter Josie called?
Oh yeah, that was a highlight.
And to use his
I remember distinctly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you do.
Uh-huh.
Peter, I will say what Peter said, and maybe you can say what he said.
Mm.
Peter said to him, "Why is he embarrassed?" Those were strange words. Why is he embarrassing the people of Beaufort like that? Remember that?
Yes, I remember.
And do you remember Kenny's response?
I cannot recall.
He said, "But Peter, I don't understand you. You should be thanking me for showing everybody the work you did in Beaufort."
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell?
It does. And I remember him salivating, when Peter called him, because his response was, "Peter, I'm glad that you called."
That's right.
Yeah.
And that was a hit moment, unforgettable. And all those people who are too young or who are not interested enough, now, look back and we have a history, we have a history. We have a very, very interesting political history as well. And there are still those among us who can speak interestingly, articulately about it. And it's a pity there aren't enough vehicles, or that the vehicles are so prejudiced and so fixed in their own politics that we don't come together. Nobody talks together, or that we cannot disagree or have different interpretations and still be friends and still be people with good intentions for St. Lucia. So I want to deal first of all with Kenny's so amazed and so obviously hurt that people said he didn't do anything in Beaufort, or the one that shook me up, that he didn't do enough. Now, Kenny's situation is different from most people who represent constituencies.
Mm-hmm.
In all that time, Kenny was the powerhouse of the country in a role of prime minister, and he controlled the purse strings of the country.
For 3 terms.
So the Beaufort people had every right to expect extraordinary things from them, because that is what he campaigned for. Kenny Anthony was the guy who opened Michael Chasney's first supermarket in Beaufort. I think it's on the way to Black Bay.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was there and photographed it, and he and, of course, Michael Chasney were arm in arm and everything, wonderful, wonderful. And he said he was going to make Beaufort, I will make Beaufort the Castries of St. Lucia. Now, considering what Castries looks like, do you suppose he kept his word?
No, he didn't.
I'll give you time
and Rick, he had ample
to think that over.
And Rick, he had ample time, he had ample opportunity to do that.
Tim, before you answer that question, I'll give you another time. I said to you, that was in 1997. And he said, I will turn Beaufort into the Castries of St. Lucia. Well, obviously, Castries was not the Castries we know today.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would agree with that.
Yes, I agree. I concur.
And I wonder if some might say, looking at Beaufort now, that he actually kept his word. That Beaufort looked like Castries. Hmm? Matter of opinion, by the point of view?
It definitely has not, it has not materialized. What he promised has not materialized at all.
You think Castries is much more beautiful than Beaufort?
In terms of economic activity, it's bustling, but I don't know about the beauty.
Okay. Maybe he meant economic activity. Maybe that's what he meant. Maybe I'm wrong in terms of the aesthetics.
Yeah, I think he was talking about economic activity that would provide employment opportunities.
Let us say that was. You think he delivered on that?
No, the evidence is there.
Now, Tim, do you remember a show, a one-man show that Kenny had on the radio all to himself called
Conversation with the Prime Minister?
With the Nation.
With the Nation, yeah.
I'll give you a couple of lines from a couple of them. The police blame the government for denying them proper equipment and for not providing vehicles and drivers. Police prosecutors lose court cases, then they hold the government responsible for their demonstrated incompetence. The government is blamed for not hanging convicted murderers, regardless that their appeals may be before the courts. So Kenyan the police been having it for quite a while, right? He goes on in another one. Permanent secretaries who decide to move out of government must first blame the government, in particular, the Prime Minister. And he goes on a number of these things, and he ends up by saying, and that is a mouthful, you should not wish to be Prime Minister if you do not understand that martyrdom awaits you. Now that word martyrdom is a hell of a word for a guy to use, Tim. Some might say it has something to do with a persecution complex. I remember a number of times when Kenny commented on my criticisms of him, which were a lot, that I was persecuting him. And that's how some people see when you criticize them, you're persecuting them, But that would persecute as opposed to criticize, and martyrdom as a regard you taking responsibility for your actions, being accountable. These are very important words. They tell you a lot about the character, the nature, the mindset of people. To think that if you are criticized in your office, you're being made a martyr of.
And this is not normally coming from politicians alone. They're coming from their supporters as well. Why are you persecuting my Prime Minister? Why are you persecuting my MP? You hear that from time to time from some of the hacks.
Well, the hacks usually echo the main man, Tim. So we'll not bring the hack into that. Whatever the lead man says, the hack echoes it. The hack is basically an echo, because what a hack is that their man is never wrong. Their man is never accountable no matter what.
Yeah.
So effectively they are echoes. That's why they call hacks, not just because they support strongly, but because they support blindly. You with me?
Absolutely.
So that a hack is really just a popular name over the years for an echo. So you expect to hear echo. So when you listen to that speech going on, to the Kenny Anthony speech, I said yesterday about betrayal. I spoke about Last Supper. I spoke about Judas and all those things. They fit all into that circle. Now, the matter of why did they vote for me 6 times if I was no good? That's a great question, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah?
It is worth exploring and dissecting.
Exactly. And I can off the top of my head tell you why. And John Compton, too, was a beneficiary of that situation, you know. John Compton never had any opposition, you know, Tim.
Never.
Nobody of any standing ever went against John Compton, you know.
Because
From the time he
were
won,
too
he
afraid
was so popular a figure.
because they were too afraid of the outcome. They thought that the outcome was imminent or inevitable.
I mean, guys would show up against Compton on the day of elections that you never saw before, just for a guy to be there. I remember George Murray was one. There was another one. Sarah Flood's father made a habit of it. It was almost a political joke, you know. Just somebody show up because Compton was at that time invincible, or that's how he was seen. So he won a number of times that he might not have won if there was serious opposition. Now, when you think of Kenny's opposition, the general feeling is that Mondays, what's the guy's name? Ulrich Mondays?
Ulrich Mondays, yeah.
Who came close, I think he actually said that.
Yeah,
He
by
scored
a little over
really good against
less
him.
than 300 votes.
Yeah. And the feeling at the time was Mondays was lazy that he never campaigned.
Yeah.
His whole campaign was simply from his office, doctor's office. That was the talk at the time. Okay? So it tells you something already right there. And the United Workers' Party has been famous, if not infamous, for not sending up any serious candidates in Beaufort, neither putting any serious money behind them, neither even supporting them as a party. You know that. Am I talking wrong, Jim?
No,
I mean, you know the thing as well as I do, you know.
It's a good point. It's a good point that
You
you
know-
made. There was one also, Hillary Saltibus, who
And
contested.
who is Hillary Saltibus? Who is that? That guy, at the time, I remember the jokes in all the press. You remember that?
Yes.
He'll joke.
I think
The
one of
guy
one of
himself
the most credible candidates over the years would have been Dr. Ulrich Mondazy.
Yes, who came
Could
so
have.
close.
Yeah.
Had that guy gone out to really campaign and had the party had the I don't know what it was, but I'm going to take a chance. The perspicacity or the confidence in the guy. Because, again, I suppose Kenny was seen as invincible in his own way as John Compton in his own time, you know, during the period I'm talking about. You know, so I don't think it's a very good question to be shouting out there about how, you know, I didn't do enough.
We'll have to end it there, Rick.
One more point.
Yeah, quickly.
All right, I'll leave that. I'll leave that one.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. This is the most monitored talk show in the world. Still to come, you'll be hearing from the Assistant Deputy Commissioner of Police, Dr. Mashama Seeley, and a performance by the island's Police Commissioner, Mr. Vern Gard. This is the most monitored talk show in the world.
On Saturday, June 14th, as the island ignites at Lumina, taking over Project Chocolat, Mikal Teja. Mikal Teja. Mikal Teja.
Lauren say it cold out in New York City. If you hear she ballin', I need a little rundown.
Alongside soca sensations Ezra and Sly. Backed up by the electrifying Impulse Band. Music by Hype Kid, A1 Jugglers, the Caldem DJ Sir Lancelot. Powered by Island Sounds. Hosted by MC Donoville. Tickets $130, no door sales. Get yours at the Cell Island Wide, Mambo's Bar in Soufriere, or online at fourcirclestickets.com. On Saturday, June 14th, Lumina. From 7 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Dress code Caribbean chic.
Lucelec wishes to advise customers and the public that its customer service office at the Carolic building in San Souci is temporarily closed to facilitate urgent maintenance. The Lucelec Rodney Bay and Vieux offices are open to serve customers. Customers who wish to make payments during this closure are encouraged to access the My Account service at myaccount.lucelec.com. Sure pays online and walk-in service options or participating financial institutions. Payments made via SurePay and My Account Direct on weekdays from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. will be processed to customer accounts the same day. Payments made after 4 p.m. will be processed the next business day. For account balances, please dial the automated account inquiry service line at 457-4433. Customers can access other Lucelec services by using the virtual service desk at lucelec.com. The management of Lucelec deeply regrets any inconvenience caused by these closures and thanks its valued customers for their patience and understanding.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Here's a fun fact. In just 29 seconds, you can say goodbye to paper bills forever. Seriously, in 29 seconds. That's less time than this ad. Head over to discoverflow.co or visit us in-store and update your contact information now. By October 1st, your bills will be digital, easy to access, secure, and hassle-free. So what are you waiting for? This ad still has 2 seconds left, and you could have already gone paperless.
Party with Guinness and fly to St. Kitts. Guinness St. Lucia is giving you a shot at an all-expense-paid trip to the St. Kitts Music Festival, June 26th to 28th, 2025. Experience top dancehall and soca acts from across the region. Buy 2 Guinness or 2 Guinness Smooth to enter. Drop your receipt in promo boxes or DM to We Brew Vibes on Instagram. You must be 18 and over to participate with a valid passport. Prize is non-transferable. Promotion runs May 12th to June 16th with the big draw on June 18th. Plus, look out for Guinness block parties, giveaways, and specials island-wide. Travel sponsored by Sunrise Airways. Guinness, made of more.
I in a good spirit. I drink in a good
St. Lucia, are you ready for the ultimate all-inclusive?
Chalet Blanc, the all-white event. Tier 1 now available at Frontline Ticketing, Eventbrite, Digital Baywalk Mall, 4 Circles Ticketing, or WhatsApp at 240-344-8629. A musical journey curated by the best local and international DJs. St. Lucia Carnival Saturday, July 19th, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m.
At Sanders Golf and Country Club, Kappa State.
Look something to talk about.
Unlimited drinks, brunch buffet, top class entertainment.
Stay tuned. This event is powered by One Golden Fox and Natalie Events.
Why suffer in silence? At La Clinique de Corps, an approved universal healthcare clinic, you now have direct access to a team of internationally trained specialists from the US, France, Cuba, Venezuela, and more right here in St. Lucia. We treat chronic pain, sciatica, arthritis, lupus, nerve damage, carpal tunnel, and more with precision and care. We also offer advanced diagnostic nerve testing to detect hidden tissues early before they become serious. All health insurances accepted. We assist you every step of the way. Call 451-6559 or WhatsApp 721-9950 today. La Clinique de Corps, where healing begins.
Looking for amazing deals on tiles? Mark your calendars. Every last Thursday of the month, the Tile Gallery is offering up to 50% off on selected tiles. Whether you are renovating your kitchen, updating your bathroom, or giving your entire home a fresh new look, now is the time to transform your space and save big. Enjoy up to 50% off on selected tiles. Don't miss this incredible opportunity to upgrade your home without breaking the bank. Visit M&C Home Depot and Sunbelt locations for more details. Terms and conditions.
You know that feeling when you have an uncontrollable desire for fried chicken? That's the KFC. A substance that stimulates your senses to identify the aroma of our secret recipe or an extra crispy crunch from any distance. It's invisible to the naked eye, but you can feel it traveling throughout your body, taking control. All so you can enjoy a juicy bite of KFC. Ignite your senses with KFC.
Still to come, we have a freestyling police commissioner, Mr. Verngard. You don't want to miss this. Let me turn my attention to Amanda and let us find out what is happening in the chat room.
A few comments from earlier. Tim, a NewsSpin says PJP and KDA are making some serious allegations against their own people, so I don't know how PJP is going to win 17-0. Another comment reads, discipline starts at home, so parents please try to do better. A NewsSpinner says KDA teaching a man to fish should have been your vision. Holding people hostage by giving handouts shouldn't have been the approach. Another commentator reads, yes, heavy fog lights in a tropical country is ridiculous. Someone says Kenny Anthony will go down in history as a prime minister who did nothing for his constituents. Another commentator reads, if VA4 was developed, it would be much more beautiful than Castries due to the flat lands. A NewsSpinner says, okay, I read that already. Back to you, Tim.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Somebody says there via WhatsApp, and it reads, good afternoon. I think the caller about our roads is on point. There is a lot of road rage, non-courteous drivers, and maybe some selfish ones too. I'm a female driver, and sometimes it is not nice being on the road. To a certain extent, I blame the transport department, because if people knew that they would be penalized for their actions, they would be more careful on our roads. Person continues, SLP is still playing handout politics, and that is why they keep winning in these constituencies. I grew up learning the proverb, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. This government has mastered the art of keeping the masses reliant on them. The majority of voters unfortunately fall in this group. It will be difficult to get these people to vote otherwise when their source of income may be lost. And another person says, I'm still laughing at that message that made you chuckle whilst reading it. And that's aimed at you, Amanda. And another WhatsApp message. Somebody says there via WhatsApp, Tim, I'm a certified professional vehicle electronic technician, as you would be able to determine from my WhatsApp display pic. And I can confirm that most of the lights that are installed on most vehicles are usually extremely cheap aftermarket Chinese products. They don't help the drivers see better, but in fact they often create a shadow effect that makes it harder to see other objects while driving. Another person says, Tim, the past MP for Soufre Dawsu, has done much more for Soufre in his first term in office than Kenny Anthony has done for VA4 in 28 years. Another one, somebody says that we as solutions need to clap when things are done and speak about the wrong things and give solutions. Too often, we do not compliment the good and we just complain about everything. And we as solutions love to say democratic country when they speak nonsense to substantiate gibberish talk. Let's make valuable contributions in order for our country to move forward. And another WhatsApp message. Somebody says the hacks are saying all kinds of things. Custody suites is what Chastain mashed up to put the people when they get arrested. Person says Kenny said he is still a member of the SLP. He said he wanted no members on the stage because it was a meeting he wanted to do on his own. What is his motive? Nobody knows, but they're spreading all kinds of rumors. Another one. Do you know that the politicians are an exact representation of the people they represent? That is why they put them there and defend them. When we speak of no laws and discipline, if we had active laws, responsibility, respect, most of the politicians who we elect would not be part of parliament today. There are some labels you should not have as a leader. It's we who have to change these things and learn to stand with others for better representation. All right, that's it for our WhatsApp calls and messages and discussions from the chat room. Our question of the day. How did Castries East and VA4 South benefit from 28 years of representation by Philip J. Pierre and Dr. Kenny Anthony? How did Castries East and VA4 South benefit from 28 years of representation by Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre and Dr. Kenny Anthony? The NewsSpin news of the day reads, Chiquita fires thousands of striking banana workers in Panama, says it suffered $75 million losses. Chiquita fires thousands of striking banana workers in Panama, says it suffered $25 million in losses. The NewsSpin news of the day. And now let's hear from the Assistant Deputy Police Commissioner, Dr. Mashama Seeley, speaking earlier today at the opening of Custody Suites, which is also known as Community Centralized Safety Center.
Last year, I participated in an interview concerning the opening of Carnival, and I was asked a question. Where will you detain persons who break the law? And my response was that there are 15 police stations across the island, and so a person could find themselves anywhere from Grosile to Labre Police Station. This year, my response will be different. Today marks more than the reopening of a building. It is a renewed commitment to justice, human rights, accountability, and public trust. This detention center is an essential part of our law enforcement and judicial process. Not merely a place of detention, but a space where dignity, due process, and professional policing standards must be upheld at all times. The opening of this facility represents a decisive shift due to the upgrades, which will ensure a safer environment for detainees, police officers, and visitors alike.
Nimble, me nimble and quick. Go tell the whole of them me say how to do it, jam and me dimble. Jaja know me simple. Never did I am honor. To all of the massive, I man I set an example. Vern God, the massive impossible. Jada man me quick and me full of lyric. And you looking at me basket, you know me have it. If a man would want to test me, I go put him in a holy par dollars and the thing counterfeit.
Police Commissioner Vern God, that performance delivered earlier today during the opening of the Community Centralized Safety Center, otherwise known as Custody Suites. And of course, before him, you heard from the Assistant Deputy Police Commissioner, and that is Dr. Mashama Seeley. That's the broadcast. Somebody just wrote there in the chat room, troops. Another person says, that dry. The person says, yes, sir. Another person says, St. Lucia is a clown country. You see, I'm not ending the show yet, eh? Vern God, okay, I want to read that one. Let's see if we have another comment. Woi, the other person says, lots of comments as a result of that performance. This place is a joke, big so. St. Lucia is a clown country. And what other comments do we have there? Okay. That's it. Have a great weekend. Please join us on Monday afternoon, same time, 12:30 for another edition of the world's most monitored talk show. My name is Timothy Poleon. Enjoy your weekend. Goodbye.